Every October 31st, we flood the supermarkets and spend about $2.6 billion on 90 million pounds of Halloween-themed candy. We decorate our homes and brace ourselves for costumed kids who scour the neighborhood with baskets shaped like pumpkins and pillowcases. These youngsters want candy. Candy they could trade for something tastier on the floor of their parents' living room. Candy that takes a walk from New York City to Boston to work off. With adults or on their own, little masked ghouls and dainty princesses walk up to dozens of neighborhood doors and ring their bells. If someone answers, they're presented with a simple choice: trick or treat. Nowadays, nearly all of us choose treat, but make no mistake, it certainly wasn't always that way. Welcome back to Quick Culture, a channel about global traditions and their origins. Today, we're going to talk about trick-or-treating on Halloween. Where does it come from? How might it have changed over time? And what reach, if any at all, does it have outside of the United States? What is today a fun and innocent ritual, a chance for neighborhoods to give back to their kids, was once an extraordinarily dark and even raucous affair. The fall was a period of spiritual overlap for many old societies. The Celts, alive 2,000 years ago, believed that the dead would walk the earth during an October festival called Samhain. The celebration consisted mostly of bonfires and food sacrifices, but town officials soon began to encourage costumes made from animal skin as a mode of defense against spirits. That is, while a ghost might attack a human, he or she would not attack another ghost. Historians agree, though it looked a lot different, this is certainly where most of our cherished Halloween tradition was born. In the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church's All Hallows' Eve holiday preserved the Celtic tradition of dressing up, and the tradition spread to Greater England. Impoverished adults would beg door to door for food, specifically pastries called soul cakes, in exchange for displays of prayer and song for dead relatives. This was called souling, and the beggars were called soulers. Eventually, children took over, and they asked for ale and money in addition to soul cakes. A tradition called guising swept across Ireland and Scotland shortly thereafter. Itinerant beggars and children didn't pray for the dead anymore, though. They simply performed a dance, song, or a poem, or a harmless little trick, if you will, in exchange for coins. Of course, this was not so much a form of trick-or-treating as it was a form of trick and treating. Fleeing famine in the mid-1800s, young Irish migrants sold and guised around their neighborhoods in the United States. Surely a sight to behold for Americans unfamiliar with Old World traditions. Yet it wasn't until the 1920s, a time of extreme opulence, lavish parties, and all sorts of debauchery, that Halloween pranks became commonplace. Instead of begging for treats, crowds of roving youngsters terrorized their neighborhoods on Halloween night. And the Great Depression only worsened the problem. Reports of juvenile vandalism, physical assault, and violence grew exponentially in the years leading up to World War II, as social and, of course, economic desperation compounded across the country. Ironically, experts believe that it was precisely this raucousness that gave rise to modern-day trick-or-treating practices. In order to control their violent juveniles, neighborhoods began safely organizing and monitoring communal Halloween events. They actively encouraged safe celebrations as a kind of outlet for rowdy and disgruntled children. Perhaps a sweet treat would prevent a not-so-sweet trick, they figured, and in many ways, they were right. During the war, however, the national candy supply took a hit, as sugar rationing became widespread in order to preserve essential goods for soldiers abroad. Halloween came roaring back a decade later, of course, as standards of living increased and Americans had enough extra income to spend freely. The rise of the suburbs, too, made it generally safer for parents to take their kids trick-or-treating. But make no mistake, cities across America also saw an upswing of trick-or-treaters as kids went from apartment unit to apartment unit in search of something good to eat. Candy companies, sensing a very lucrative financial opportunity, started aggressively marketing their products in the 1950s. Thus, Halloween and trick-or-treating, by extension, became a commercial and consumer event. Hershey, a popular Pennsylvania chocolatier, does extraordinarily well on Halloween, its most profitable day of the year. Unsurprisingly, two Hershey's products, the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup and the Kit Kat Bar, are among the 3 most popular Halloween candies, the third being M&Ms. Altogether, the Halloween holiday makes more money for candy companies than Christmas and Thanksgiving combined. Trick-or-treating rituals don't come tethered to Halloween or All Souls Day around the world, though. In Ethiopia, for example, children go door to door and ask for treats on Easter. Dressed like witches, they present homemade knickknacks in exchange for sweets. In Finland and parts of Denmark, trick-or-treating is a New Year's tradition. It's also more of a PG-13 event. While kids can and do receive candy from their neighbors, adults who engage in the ritual get alcohol. On St. Martin's Day, which takes place on November 11th, German children carry lanterns around the town and sing songs for money and food. During Ramadan, youngsters in Central Asia go caroling, while Chinese children place food and water next to portraits of dead relatives during Tengqi on the 15th day of the year. England did away with All Hallows' Eve shortly after the Protestant Reformation. Instead, they chose to celebrate a different holiday, Guy Fawkes Day, on November 5th. Though less popular today, some English men and women gather to commemorate the execution of an English traitor who tried to blow up Parliament. They light fireworks, burn effigies, and make lanterns from turnips. But perhaps most importantly, children go out to beg for pennies. A penny for the guy, they say. It's a bit cruel, right? Well, that's all for today, folks. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. We put out new content every week. Comment your favorite Halloween candy below for a chance to be featured on Quick Culture next week. See you next time.